Hi, welcome back to the Driveway Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Bryan Durkin. Welcome back. Today, I want to share with you of a little bit about how I get results. So, if you heard the last couple episodes, I've talked about some books that have changed my life. The E-Myth is one of them. Probably the biggest book to get me started down this journey of thinking about life and business differently. And I said that in order on purpose. And then turning into a little bit about what my background became and how I was in sales and marketing. And then we talked a little bit about this game planning concept, and the reason why I kind of build that way is because I want to share with you how I got results. So if you have read my book, among the things I talk about is how I built this business where we started with 2 employees, ended up with 2 employees in the US to 26. We had none overseas and 220 or so remote workers doing document management in the early 2000s. Right? I started the business in 97. Um, I had an opportunity to move to a new opportunity. I had an opportunity to change my life and business in late 2003, and I took advantage of that. And so I had this massive, massive growth speak. So when we started the business, we were a scanning business, right? We could scan about 1,500 pieces of paper today, and we would code it. So we had a database in the cloud. Wasn't called the cloud then; it was called the server. Um, and we scanned pieces of paper. We documented them so that accounting people could find checks and backups to checks, and so commercial real estate people could find backup documents for leases and other stuff. HR departments could find backups of things, right? So it was a very paper intensive world in those days. And so we had a document management business. So we got results. So what does that mean? Over a period of 2 years, we went from scanning about 1,500 pages a day, which is the equivalent of about a banker's box of documents, to somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000 pieces of paper a day. So that's not a mistake, right? So we had this massive influx. Now, we did that for a couple very specific reasons. One, and by the way, I didn't know this at the time. That's why I'm sharing this with you. One is that we had a process for everything. So everything we did had between 3 and 5 steps. And then this has to do with game planning, which I learned much later, was that we had people who were involved in supporting singles, doubles, triples, and home runs. So if you were taking pieces of paper apart, literally cutting files, someone's job was to remove staples and count pieces of paper. That would be a single, right? I would be capable of doing it as a CEO and the founder, but I didn't do it. Doubles would be, batching it. Triples would be getting it scanned and getting it returned. And home runs would be making sure that the projects were done on a timely basis in line with the client's expectations, right? So that's an example of how we use this framework to get results. So if you look back at hopefully your completed 2 weeks worth of game planning, it's probably all crinkled up and kind of messed up. Mine usually has coffee on it or some kind of lunch or something, right? You're going to see several items there that you need to get done. And so what I do and how I get results is I build little systems and I give them to somebody else. So for example, True System, we use some technology. I send thank you cards on behalf of clients. What does that mean? That means my assistant logs into, or someone on my team logs into a client's CRM when they're notified. They look at the notes of the meeting. They send a little note. Hey, Joe, thanks for meeting on Tuesday. Looking forward to hearing back from you. Hope you have a great weekend. Go Gators, right? Because hopefully the sales reps have noted what school they went to, or if not, we go on LinkedIn, right? So again, our goal is to send a personalized thank you card to the sales reps on a consistent basis. We only send 20 a week or something like that along those lines. But in support of those 4 salespeople, it changes how they do it. So that's really important. Listen to that. So not only should the sales guys be doing it, yes. It just so happens that in this particular business, there's a ton of logistical challenges, which usually means driving, and they're very, very far apart. So they're very big projects too, and they take a long time. So what we do is we put a simple process in place that as long as they're diligent enough to put the notes in, and in their CRM, we know when the meeting happened, and we get a little bit of nuggets about what they talked about if we can, and we just do a follow-up. And if we don't, we just say, great meeting with you on Tuesday. Looking forward to catching back. And then if we can, we try to tie something else in that is going on either in the region or in sports, something along the line that's non-innocuous and non-technical and non-political, considering today's world. So that's one example. Like, so another example would be another client has a technical writer who wants to send out, they have a writer who creates topics that they want to send out, but they weren't consistently getting them out. So we created a process to make sure that an email newsletter goes to their customer base twice a month. Now, I'll call that a double because it's a little harder. There's some things involved that have to happen, right? There's a process about the email getting approved and stuff like that. But that would be a double. So why does that matter? Because that company's had over the last 3.5 years, I've had about a 70% growth in top line revenue. That's not a mistake, 70%, and it's a big number. But that's not an accident. Now, of course, we claim all credit for it, but I'm sure there's other things that happen. I'm sure there's some unicorn customers in there. They did make some acquisitions, right? But so nonetheless, even if we discount it and say 50% of that over a 3-year period, that's 20% a year, 15% a year. That's not trivial growth. And these are big numbers, right? These are not small numbers. Other ways we get results is, for example, if you're having a difficult time getting, I don't know, follow-up literature done or information to put in front of your clients, we have a process where we'll interview people and turn that into content for their website. As you'll see, this podcast is mirrored on my website, and we use that on social media. Again, that's not an example. That's not an accident, right? My team does all of that because in my mind, we need to make sure that we're talking to people, having great conversations. But although I could be the one that could do the summary, could post it on LinkedIn, could post it on Instagram and Facebook, maybe on TikTok, wherever it's going to go, and then send an email out to my list of, hey, this is what's going on. I'm not the one that should be doing that, right? So that actually was a triple. We had a goal last 6 months of last year of saying, how can we help our clients who are experts get more of their message out to their audience? And this was one of them. So that's why I decided to, after starting a podcast 6 years ago, 7 years ago, kid you not, I think it was 2015, which I stopped. I did 30 episodes and stopped. I decided to go back into it after doing podcast support for several clients for about a year, realizing that my voice wasn't getting out, my mission, and it aligned with what was going on. And it aligned with my mission to help you guys and gals in the home services business, how we can help. So again, how do I get results? How do we get results? Is we take the strategic things that happening and let you work on them, right? Because you're the most important resource in your business. You can't give it to someone else blindly. They're not going to do a good job as you. You have to give them a framework for success. That way you can measure success, measure failure, but then also get the simple crap off your table. Don't be sending out sales reports. Don't be sending out follow-up emails. Don't be doing that. Build a process. Have someone else do it. If you can't get someone else to do it, let me know. We might have a process for it. So anyway, I wanted to thank you for listening to how we get results. So short version, figure out what you want to do, have someone else do it. If you need a guy, I got a guy. All right. You guys have an amazing day. Catch you on the next episode.